There's a heavy amount of mystery surrounding natlan, and unlike most, I don't believe it's because natlan just isn't out yet, but more because natlan is somehow directly tied to the overarching story, being the reunion of the Traveler siblings. By proxy, the Abyss Order, and the secret to why the other siblings seemingly abandoned their siblings to ally with the Abyss. Now, if natlan is going to carry heavy plot points and the Harbinger going to confront Murata is none other than Capitano himself, wouldn't it make sense for the Abyss Order to be involved? How does the Abyss Order operate? Are they out in the open or covertly operating behind the scenes? The Abyss Order hides in the shadow, pulling strings without trying to make their presence known. The first time we make contact with the Abyss Order is when tracking down the book, The Pale Princess, and the 6 Pygmies. This wasn't an attack to take the book by force, but the opposite. The Abyss Mage tries to hide itself and its actions. The Abyss Lectors hide their identity, taking on false personas, all for their mission. This leads me to Capitano and the possibility of him being bloodstained. To sum up his story, he was a knight from the Crimson Era that fell to the Abyss upon his journey to rid the world of monsters in the name of justice. But this justice soon became a perversion of bloodlust and a frenzy of carnage. All until he stumbled across the ultimate injustice, in which he met his end. But he also devoted himself to this justice. What if Bloodstained didn't actually die, but instead was infused with abyssal power? Whatever the case, let's say Capitano is Bloodstained in disguise. What reason would he have in the Fatui? As I stated before, the Order likes to act covertly, and it just makes no sense for them to not plant a mole. He could do nothing more than keep track of them, try to slowly push them into aligning with the Abyss, or any number of things. If the Fatui did go to war with Celestia, I believe the Abyss would much rather finish off the winner than go in outright war. They want to take power without much outward fighting, either out of fear or honestly. I think the Abyss Order knows exactly what Celestia is capable of, which is why they act like a secret society rather than like the Fatui, because they've been cursed. They felt the divine wrath of the gods, so why would they openly declare war against them a second time? That's a mistake only the inexperienced would make. So if you ask M, the Abyss Order might use the Fatui as nothing more than a scapegoat. Second, to put simply, White Knight and Bloodstained are one of the same but two separate identities. Bloodstained is madness while White Knight is folly. I believe Capitano holds the pure values of the Pyro Archon, but Bloodstained is the corrupted version of those values. And that is his truth, while Capitano is a facade. Also, if the Abyss Order has unfinished business with Murata, who better than Bloodstained? Let's say Childa's Foul Legacy is a talent of abyssal energy. Let's say Foul Legacy is just a transformation unique to those who harness the Abyss. Why wouldn't Bloodstained harness the abyssal power? Basically, imagine a Frankenstein Abyssal Knight with Foul Legacy and a delusion. Base form Capitano is enough to leave an impact on Farca. Imagine him transformating with something like a Frenzy Foul Legacy. Imagine that versus Murata. Now to the Abyss and natlan. And this he could be Bloodstained. But his story came to a conclusion. And Murata talks about whether he was as if she watched over him, like a goddess over a hero. And the question of if his intention remains sounds like she lost track of him. This leads me to my hope of a second Archon. What if for whatever reason Murata passes on the Archon role to this he? Now I watched a Honkai Impact cutscene on another's channel that, for some reason, just echoed in my head the Pyro Gemstone. It was a man fighting against a horde. I started thinking, what if this hero, like the siblings, got caught up with the Abyss and somewhere in natlan is in a never-ending battle with the Abyss? The truth could be his ascension completing the hero's journey, and what if we directly aid him on behalf of Murata, or by accident? Maybe Murata is defeated by Capitano in base form. Murata is injured but alive, she can't protect her people, and whatever other Harbinger is with Capitano starts a war. This forces Murata in her weakened state to pass on the Archon role to the he, and he steps up. Before Capitano leaves natlan, or he just out of respect of honor fights the new Archon but struggles This forces him to reveal himself either out of rage or circumstance. The now bloodstained is too much for the new Archon, and we step in and push him away. Or he doesn't and just back off, or we could see a rise of Abyss Order influence in natlan causing a lot of problems while hinting to being bloodstained and covertly working alongside the Abyss while not revealing himself. Since this is the first failed Gnosis retrieval, Saritsa declares war against natlan, sending the full force of Snaznea. Then we get her gemstone. What if this war ends out of respect for one another and the joined forces? But let's say this he is somehow trapped in the Abyss. Maybe natlan has its own unground ruins or something Abyss related. And we finally go into Abyss and rescue the he. Basically, we get Canria during natlan's storyline or just some Abyss region. My reasoning is that Celestia has to be after we meet Saritsa. The Abyss Order couldn't be directly involved once the war between Cryo Archon and Celestia begins. So the last Havit chapter should lead us to Celestia unless chapter 8 is Celestia. But if you ask me, chapter 7 is the final one. It will just be very packed. Now it's very likely I'm wrong. But in the chance we get technical to Archons because there's no way they're killing Murata, it would be pretty cool. Plus, if we do fight Capitano and he reveals himself as bloodstained, I can only see that as an excuse to go to the Abyss or Canria rather than go to both the Abyss Celestia and Snaznea. Kinda off topic. Skirk would come in natlan or Snaznea. Alice might get revealed in natlan but playable in Snaznea. Farka has to be during Fontaine. We could get a Hexen Zirkel member. Honestly, I think this end will come before Alice. Or Skirk might be soon. But I'm leaning towards natlan, because I think we will get a lot of Abyss-related stuff there. What if Murata had a bias towards this he and he fell in battle? But she brings him back to life. Which might be her secret or reason. This might explain why it's stated that the losers must burn to ash, but what if this isn't what she wanted? But if that's the case, why is she asking if? His intention remains either this gemstone is not tied to the current events, but more so self-contained to natlan's story. Basically, in trying to say it hasn't happened yet. Same with Cryo Archon.